It's a neighborly day in this beauty wood, a neighborly day for her beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I've always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. Yes, you. Always wanted to live in a neighborhood with a Steinway store too. So let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? We have some neighbors who came from far away today to be with us. If you're from Ohio, raise your hand. All right. If you're from Kentucky, raise your hand. If you're from Brooklyn, raise your hand.
Southside Philly.
Long Island. Oh yeah. I've always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I forgot Pittsburgh. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you. Won't you be my neighbor? Be my neighbor, and let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Would you be mine? Won't you please, please won't you be my neighbor? Be my neighbor. 'Cause it's a freezing day in Nashville. Bring the plants in right now. Oh, won't you be my neighbor? Won't you be my neighbor? All right. Well, thank you for coming near and far. I have to tell you, this is quite a day because it's Mr. Rogers' birthday. But what you don't know, this party has been 3 or 4 years in the making. Because our friends in ASCAP had invited us to have the party at the ASCAP headquarters back in 2019. And that's when the album was originally released. And everything was going fine. And Mr. Rogers is actually an ASCAP writer for all these years. And so we figured, let's keep it in the family. So we were about to do that, and then COVID hit. So put a little damper on things. And then after that, they stopped making CDs. Stopped putting CDs in the cars. And then after that, we had, it wasn't happening. But we did remember that Mr. Rogers' first piano was a Steinway. So I was just driving down the street and said, wait a minute, there's a Steinway. And here we are, 3 years later. So glad to be here. Thank you. Give yourselves a round of applause for making it so special. Woo-hoo! We have a little special guest person who came in to wish Fred a happy birthday. The mayor of Nashville, who a couple of years ago announced that one of the days in October was going to be Mr. Rogers' Music Day. So we are already acknowledging him here in Nashville. We just go wait for the rest of the world to catch up to us. And he wanted to say something. So we're going to let Mayor Cooper say a few words in honor of Mr. Rogers. Take it away, Mr. Mayor. Official.
It's a beautiful day in the Nashville neighborhoods. A beautiful day to celebrate our neighbor, the late Fred Rogers. Now, I'm disappointed I couldn't be with you all to celebrate today, but let me send my very best wishes for an incredible event. Thank you, Dennis, for organizing and hosting today's celebration and for spearheading efforts like these to continue his important work. Mr. Rogers once said, if you could only sense how important you are to the lives of those you meet, how important you can be to the people you may never even dream of. Oh, how that is true. Though he's been gone for 2 decades now, a part of him remains here with us. He was and continues to be a treasured friend in homes all over the world. His legacy is immortal because his kindness, his compassion, and his goodness live on in the hearts of us all. Thank you.
All right. There's a gentleman who I've gotten to know over the years because I've been working on Mr. Rogers projects since about 2005. We did an album similar to the one that we just re-released. It was called Songs from the Neighborhood. And I got to know David Newell, who was a fixture in Fred Rogers' history because he played Mr. McFeely on the series, the speedy delivery man. And he's just a great guy. And if we had unlimited time, if Steinway wanted to give us this room for the next 3 weeks, David has stories that could take up the entire bulk of that time. But right now, we're going to bring him on board. So everyone say a prayer that Zoom is working. So let's say hello to David Newell.
Well, I'm glad to be here. I won't take too much time, but I just wanted to say a few things. First of all, the Steinway, we used the Steinway on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And one day, coming through Pittsburgh, where we taped the program, John Steinway visited the studio. And he signed the piano, John Steinway, and that piano is now at the Fred Rogers Center at St. Vincent's College in Latrobe. And that's the one we used on most of the Mr. Rogers programs. And we also visited the Steinway factory to show children how a piano is made. So so Steinway has a good place in our heart, and you're in the right room for the celebration, Dennis.
Yeah. Now, you have a good story too about Fred and what he would do on the piano during the show.
Yes. And I won't take too long because I know you have a lot to do there, but Fred was a musician, as probably you all know. And during a taping of a television show, anything can go wrong. A camera can go wrong, a sound can go out, as we demonstrated today, and just many different things. So it would frustrate Fred. When people made a human error, it didn't bother him. But when something electronic or through the television camera would not work properly, he was very frustrated. And we had a Steinway piano in the studio. That was what we used. He would go over to the piano and sit down, and his frustrations would come out through his fingers. That's what he always said. He would go to the piano and he would play, and it would help him until the trouble, whatever the trouble was during that shooting that day, was corrected. And then he'd come back and it would really help him. And music was his passion. He wrote all of the songs for Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, the words and the music, most of them. And and yes, Dennis, I think he should be in the Songwriters Hall of Fame. Please do, because I think being recognized for his music would be the high point of his career. That I won't want to keep you back from all your festivities. Thank you all for coming to and helping Dennis celebrate. And one more time before I go, let's do one more speedy delivery. That'll wind it up, and it's back to you, Dennis. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, very loudly. Speedy delivery. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred.
Bye, everybody. Speedy delivery. Tune into the neighborhood. It's still on. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bowling. Somebody asked me a little earlier, how did this come about, getting involved with Mr. Rogers? And the fact of the matter is, it happened unexpectedly. I was in my kitchen eating a sandwich with the TV on, and there was Fred, singing a little song. I said, "Oh, this is quite a nice song. I wonder who wrote it," only to find out that Fred Rogers wrote the song. And then I wondered if anybody else has ever recorded the song, only to find out that nobody had recorded the song. And that's what started me on this journey of taking Fred's songs, reimagining them, getting different celebrity artists to do them in ways that Fred never would have expected. And the best thing was, when it was all over, I got a call from Joanne Rogers, who said, you know, I just listened to the album and I'm biting my nails. And she said, I loved it and Fred would have loved it. So, yeah, that was all I needed to hear. So we have a special guest who's going to sing a lot better than I just did. And I've come to know her just since about 2018 because, a little secret, the inside story of this new re-released version of Thank You, Mr. Rogers, Music and Memories, it was not going to be a music album because we didn't have a budget. We didn't have celebrities to sing it. We didn't have anything. So we said, you know what? The next best thing is to talk to people who know Fred, let them tell their Mr. Rogers stories. And that's what it was going to be. And it would have been that, except all of a sudden, I started getting calls from artists saying, hey, we want to be on the album. So we said, okay, we'll put the interviews aside. But this young lady did give a wonderful interview, and you're going to hear her speaking about her Mr. Rogers story in the video we're going to play a little later. But right now, she is a gifted songstress, talented singer, songwriter, and has a wonderful heart as well. I'm so glad I know her. She's going to sing that song I was telling you about, and I promise not to eat my sandwich too loud in the kitchen. Let's give it up for Tia Goins.
Thank you, Dennis. I am so honored to be here. I have been a fan of the neighborhood since as long as I can remember, and Mr. Rogers played a huge influence in my life. And this song that I'm about to sing maintains to be my favorite song of all time. Not your toys, they're just beside you. It's you I like, every part of you, your skin, your eyes, your feelings, whether old or new. I hope that you remember, even when you're feeling blue, that it's you I like, it's you yourself, it's you.
All right, here we go. It's Mr. Rogers' birthday in 3, 2, 1. Happy birthday, Mr. Rogers. Woo-hoo! All right. All right, now this time with feeling. Okay. Are we good? Yeah, all right. Thanks for doing that.
And I'm going to to jump in here real quick because it is Mr. Rogers' birthday. There is cake over here, so if you want to get cake as this goes along, sneak over.
This is my wife, Lori, who's put together that beautiful table. And she's right. If you don't take a piece of cake, you know it's going home with us, and that would not be a good thing. Having said that, there's one more piece of business I'd like to take care of, and David Newell kind of hinted at that already. While you're enjoying your cake, there's a little place where you can take a photo of the QR and sign up and be part of this little grassroots effort to induct Mr. Rogers into the Hall of Fame. Now, it doesn't mean we're voting for him. It doesn't work that way. We're just trying to get noticed by the powers that be. So I think a good song is one that can be done in a number of ways. And somebody who's going to demonstrate that right now is a very, very talented, very gifted guitarist. Actually graduated or is graduating. Graduated from Belmont. Boy, Belmont's getting a lot of plugs here. His name is Parker Hastings. He is, well, I don't want to say he's going to put Chet Atkins to shame, but he's going to give him a run for his money, I think. So, and he's got this great arrangement. Let's give him a great round of applause. Parker Hastings, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, neighbors.
Thank you for doing this. Appreciate it. And by the way, I'm sorry the microphone wasn't where you needed it to be. All right. So I mentioned that before this recent album that we just did, there was a previous album, and it had a song on it that, well, it was a really cool song, and a friend of mine, Gary Janney, sang all the background vocals on it, and he is going to sing this Mr. Rogers classic. And listen to this song. You can start at any time, Rodney. I like background music. It's a gorgeous song, and if you didn't know it was by Mr. Rogers, you would think it was a song that belonged on the radio or something. Gary Janney, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
When the day turns into night and you're way beyond my sight, I think of you, I think of you. Yes, I do. When the night turns into day and you still are far away, I think of you, I think of you. you. Even when I am not here, we can still be so very near. I want you to know, my dear, I think of you. When the night turns into day and you still are far away, I think of you. I think of you. I always think of you. When I'm far away, I always think of
Anyway, we're going to roll this now for you. It's not too long, but I think you'll be surprised and enjoy some of the people and what they have to say, including our very own Tia over there. Yes, she's going to speak. All right, so enjoy. Let's wish Mr. Rogers one more happy birthday, and let's start the video. Ready? Happy birthday, Mr. Rogers!
Hi, everybody. I'm Tom Bergeron. As many of you know, I've spent a lot of time around kids, maybe because I'm just a big kid at heart. Well, today, we want to celebrate someone who had a really big heart for children. It's safe to say there's never been anyone quite like Fred Rogers. And after 50 years on television, people are rediscovering his legacy of wisdom and kindness. So we thought it would be fun to reach out to the fans of Fred Rogers and let them share their thoughts and memories about this gentleman known as America's favorite neighbor.
Happy birthday, Mr. Rogers. We miss you. You were legendary, and you truly changed the world.
You know, I'm very lucky. I actually got to meet Fred Rogers, and I can tell you this, he was the same quiet and caring man off-screen as he was on-screen. But you probably knew that. So come on, we want to hear your stories and memories about Mr. Rogers.
Not a rumor, because it was a true story. Not a rumor, because it was a true story. That someone stole his car from in front of his house, and Fred came out and the car was gone. And then he came back about 8 hours later and the car was back. And there was a note on the dashboard, because the fact that Fred Rogers' car had been stolen, I think it was not 8 hours later, but a couple of days later. The fact that Fred Rogers' car had been stolen had been in the news. And the people who stole it heard the news, and they left a note on the dash saying, "We're so sorry, we didn't know it was your car, we never would have stolen it."
I remember sitting in college. I was in the library at the college. It was at nighttime, and I pulled up the PBS website, and there was a write a letter to Mr. Rogers, and I thought, well, obviously it's not going to go to Mr. Rogers, but I'm going to at least let somebody know what it meant to me. So I sent an email, and within 12 hours, I got a response. And still to this day, I tend to choke up when I read it. It's just, it was amazing. He said, "Thank you for your beautiful email message. I'm really grateful for the warm ways you wrote about what our program has meant to you. You might like to know, we've long believed that the children who benefit the most from our neighborhood are the ones who have already experienced the deep investment of love from their own families, and so they are able to understand what we offer. I hope you can appreciate all the strengths from yourself and from your family that you brought to our program that helped you hear the positive messages and use them in such healthy ways in your own life. I'm proud to know you, Tia, and I'm honored that you think our neighborhood has helped you and others in such meaningful ways. Best wishes from all of us here, and a warm Ugga Mugga from Daniel Stripe the Tiger to you. Sincerely, Fred Rogers."
When I graduated from my undergrad degree back in, I believe, 2000, might have been 99, I had an extra invitation to the graduation ceremony, and rather than just chuck it in the trash, I thought, well, I'll send it to somebody. And I decided to send it to Mr. Rogers for whatever reason. And I sent it off to the studio, thinking nothing of it. And within 2 or 3 days, had a letter back in the mail from Fred Rogers, explaining, or thanking me for my letter and congratulating me on the graduation. And I'll never forget the bottom line. He ended the letter with, and always remember you're special just because you're you. And to this day, I have that letter hanging in my office at work, and it's quite a conversation starter.
I was working in the design center at WQED's, which is the station where Fred Rogers filmed his program. He was on the Arsenio Hall show. So I was watching it. Hey, there he is, and I drew a caricature of Fred, one of the puppets, and Arsenio. And I had it on a nice Bristol board. And I remember tiptoeing into his office, and actually nobody seeing me, and I set it down on his couch. He didn't have a desk in his office, he just had a couch. It's perfect for Mr. Rogers. And I remember going back to the design studio. Sure enough, here I'm walking out at the end of the day, and there's Fred, but you wouldn't know it was Fred because he wore a bow tie and he had glasses a lot, and he wore a trench coat, and he just looked like a little old man. And I see him in the hallway, and he's looking at something up on the wall in the entrance to Family Communications, which was the Fred Rogers company at the time. And I remember there was a water fountain right behind him. And I remember walking up to the water fountain and looking to see what he was looking at. He had taken that picture that I set on his couch, and he had it hanging up already. So I turned around, wiped my mouth from the water fountain, and I go, look no further, I'm the guy, and we just hit it off instantly right from there. And it was such a hoot. He actually drove me home that day because I was at the time taking the bus because I was a starving artist at art school. He drove me home. We just had a very much grandfather-grandson type of relationship right there.
When I was younger, I spent 2.5 years having nonstop seizures. And the only way my mom and dad could get ready for work in the morning was to plop me down in front of the TV screen with thousands of pillows surrounding me and put on Mr. Rogers. And something about his voice allowed my body to relax. And I was in a trance or something, and I would not have a single episode the entire time he was on the television.
Well, we decided to have surgery for Beth, which was just a horrendous decision that we had to make. And she had been in and out of countless hospitals, countless blood works and examinations. It took so long to get a diagnosis and then a possible cure, which was to remove the entire left hemisphere of her brain.
A couple weeks before I went into surgery, my mom wrote Mr. Rogers a letter, or rather called his studio asking if he would write me a letter saying he was thinking of me. And he called me that night, and I talked to him for over an hour. And then I went in for surgery, and I had complications. I ended up in a coma for 6 weeks.
My wife got on the phone and told him that Beth's not doing well, she's in a coma, and he said, I'm gonna come and see her. And even though Kathy said, but she won't even know you're here, Mr. Rogers, he said, that's okay.
The only thing he brought with him was a clarinet case of all my friends, all of the puppets, like Daniel Striped Tiger.
Made us take pictures, put the puppets out on Beth's bed, talked to her.
He spent an hour by my bedside in the hospital.
As Mr. Rogers was leaving the hospital, somebody asked him, Fred, of all the people who ask you to come and see them or speak to them or help them, why this one? And Mr. Rogers said, this was not a request. He simply said, it's just something I felt I had to do.
It was, to this day, I can't believe that has happened.
So the sweetest thing happened in my practice a couple of weeks ago. A parent of a child that I've been working with came in, and somehow Fred Rogers came up in conversation, and she shared with me that When she was 3 years old, she would wake up and she would walk into her living room. And when Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers, was on, she would simply go to the television and kiss the screen.
So Elena, one of her special things that we did for her 10th birthday was that we had a Mr. Rogers party because Elena turned 10 on the 10th. It was her golden birthday. And I made these Mr. Rogers sing-along books. And my husband, her father, put together video clips. And all of her friends and family and people that love her, they came to our house and we sang songs, right? There are ways to say I love you.
When I was in Pittsburgh in the late 90s, and I found myself driving down Fifth Avenue accompanied by my wife, headed to visit my relative. We came to an area on Fifth Avenue where there was a couple of people walking down a pathway getting ready to cross the street, and it dawned on me as I approached that they were not paying attention and didn't see me coming. And sure enough, they stepped out from behind a line of parked cars, and I had already started to hit the brakes on my car, and I came to a stop probably 5 to 10 feet away. The lady grabbed the man by the arm and pulled him back. He spun and looked at me through the windshield, and my wife gasped. She went, "Donald, you almost ran into Mr. Rogers."
Hey, it's Jim Brickman wishing Mr. Rogers a very happy birthday. You know, if there was one thing that Mr. Rogers really conveyed to kids was that everyone was special. And no matter what you look like, what you sounded like, where you were from. And when it comes to birthday parties, there's nothing more special than your birthday, the one day of the year that you are the focus of attention and really special, and everybody appreciates who you are and what you've done. So a very special happy birthday to you, Mr. Rogers, for all you brought to us. It's a beautiful day.
Hi, I'm Marilyn McCoo.
And I'm Billy Davis Jr.
And although we were grown when Mr. Rogers became so popular for the children, it took no time for us to start realizing what an impact he was having on our youth.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers.
We love you.
One of the things I like about Fred Rogers is that he liked us just the way we are, and he wanted us to like ourselves, which luckily for me comes naturally. Mr. Rogers said each of us is special, and since he is so special to us, we thought we'd ask, what do you like most about Fred? And here's what folks had to say.
Oh, he's very, very calm. I actually thinking of him brings a smile to my face.
He was unique, absolutely unique in television in refusing to allow any advertising to very young children. He thought it was immoral. He thought if children can't tell the difference between the program and the ad. So he thought it was immoral to show ads to them, either on the program or in selling any of the products.
Mr. Rogers made me feel like I was worth loving.
Especially a person like myself who's grown up with a disability like cerebral palsy. He really, really cared about people in that nature.
I think it really was a treasure that he's part of my childhood forever.
Hi, neighbor. My grandmother had a big part in raising me, so I grew up on very traditional music, very traditional programming. Mr. Rogers was a safe place in our home, so I was always able to watch his show with my granny.
Hi, neighbor. The Monkees, our demographic was older, 10 to 12, 14-year-old. Mr. Rogers, of course, played to 4, 6, 8 years old, and I watched the show with my child, Amy, and he made little kids feel safe and happy and warm and fuzzy and cozy, like a teddy bear or something like that.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Mr. Rogers. Woo!
So here's a question. What do Gershwin, Rogers and Hammerstein, Lennon and McCartney have in common with Fred Rogers? Well, obviously they all wore sweaters. I'm kidding. They are all great songwriters. But did you know that Fred wrote all the songs for his show? over 200 of them. Music was very important to Fred, and along with the genius of his arranger and pianist Johnny Costa, they made beautiful music together.
The first thing I remember is seeing Fred Rogers in a green sweater, putting on his shoes and singing. And he had this really authentic, soothing voice.
He really wasn't concerned with his level of talent or if he was always on pitch, or it wasn't really a performance to me. It was more of a facilitation of an experience.
So many of his songs were written as though they were being spoken to you. They were very conversational. He was conversational in his lyric because he was talking to you. He was doing it with a melody, but he was also making sure that you understood what he said, and that there was purpose in the words that he wrote.
I like the theme song. I think it's a pretty cliche thing to say, but it's probably my favorite. Yeah, I like how it starts kind of simple in the beginning. I think Johnny Costa got it from a Beethoven sonata, and so it starts kind of, da-da-da-da-da-da, very simple in the beginning, and then it kind of goes crazy from there. And so I really like it.
Well, I like a lot of his music, and I sing a lot of his music to my kids and my grandkids.
I always love to hear him sing, it's such a good feeling.
It's such a good feeling to know you're alive. It's such a happy feeling. You're growing inside.
Won't you be my neighbor?
He had a little sort of pump organ that he played music on as a little boy, and his sister said that he had a photographic memory for music. He could hear a tune one time and sit down and play it on this little pump organ. And when he became more serious about music, he went to his grandmother. Both his grandparents were wonderful to him. And he asked his grandmother, could he have a real piano? But she made an interesting decision. She was a woman who had wealth, had some money, and she thought to herself, music is so important to him. It's going to always be important to him. So she put out the money to buy this Steinway Concert Grand. That piano was as important a thing as there ever was in Fred Rogers' life. And wasn't it wonderful that his grandmother went ahead and spent the money to get it for him?
I especially like one called When the Day Turns into Night, which was written in 1984 at the opera called The Granddad for Daniel.
Yes, Fred Rogers' music deserves to be in the Great American Songbook.
Hi, neighbor. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood carved out a piece of American culture that was extremely important, not just in the 60s or 70s, but even today. I mean, we need to reflect on those things.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sandi Patty. I had the amazing privilege of being a part of a project a year ago that celebrated the music of our beloved Mr. Rogers. An incredible human, an incredible musician, an incredible communicator. Happy birthday. Because it's you, I like. Happy birthday, Mr. Rogers.
Hi, neighbor. Anybody that came from a broken home, they would watch Mr. Rogers and just wish that that was their dad because of just how nurturing and kind he was. Probably kindergarten, I remember just listening to him speak. It was so smooth and soft and gentle, instantly just peace. He is well missed and left an incredible legacy.
Well, hello, neighbors. It really is a beautiful day in the is Mr. Rogers' birthday. Believe it or not, Fred Rogers and I had quite a few things in common with one another. He believed in treating people with love, kindness, understanding, and respect. So do I. He also believed in the power of education and reading books. And so do I. And that's the honest truth. Happy birthday, Mr. Rogers.
One of my favorite parts of Mr. Rogers' show is when he put on his sweater. Just got this one back from the cleaners. What's your favorite part of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood?
He would explain how things work. He would explain how crayons were made, or...
I think as a kid, I just enjoyed where he would take us that day and what we would learn about. And then, of course, I was always, anticipating the trolley when trolley came, and off we went to the land of make-believe, and just the magic of that was very special as a child.
He turns the camera and we see the musicians, we see the pianist, the drummer, and the bassist, and he allowed each instrumentalist to play their part of the theme song and then play it together and show how that works, how it comes together, and how it plays into the show.
The trolley going around?
Yeah.
Is that what you like? Remember with the trolley going around?
Yeah?
For me, it's how he met some of the big issues of the day head on and was able to talk to kids, talk to adults all at the same time.
My principal came to us and said, "What do you think about showing Mr. Rogers?" which I thought was a crazy idea. I'm like, these kids are not going to sit still for that, and it did take a couple episodes, but children thrive on structure and routine. So they know when I put my Mr. Rogers shirt on every Friday, it's a Mr. Rogers Friday, and we're going to have a great day.
Hi, I'm Paul Cowsill.
Hi, I'm Susan Cowsill.
And I'm Bob Cowsill,
And
we're
we are
the
the
Cowsills.
And our family life, which was a bit harsh, Mr. Rogers brought in a balance to our own home. With that soft voice and that sweater, and his whole attitude was like, it really was pleasing to us.
Here's this nice little man with his lovely sweater and his sneakers and puppets that I adore telling me, I'm okay to be me. Thank you, Mr. Rogers.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. Rogers. Woo!
Hi, this is Jon Secada, and the memory of Mr. Rogers lives on. It was an honor being part of such a wonderful record celebrating your music, the music of such an icon. Wish you could be there for the celebration of such a wonderful day, but in heart and spirit, I am there, always will be there, and thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to be a part of your world. Thank you.
Happy birthday, Mr. Rogers. Thank you for being you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. Rogers. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. Rogers.
Thanks to all of you for helping us celebrate the music and memories of Mr. Rogers. Fred once said, "If you could only sense how important you are to the lives of those you meet, how important you can be to the people you may never even dream of, there is something of yourself that you leave at every meeting with another person." We can't even begin to thank Fred for all that he has left for us. So on that note, I'm Tom Bergeron. I have enjoyed being with you, and on behalf of all his friends and fans, I'd like to say thank you, Mr. Rogers. Thank you for being you.
Thank you for caring and helping us grow, sharing ideas that we needed to know. But more important for all that you do, thank you for being you. Thank you for helping us stand on our own.
music and stories that we never knew. Thank you for being you. Words could never measure, a gift would be too small, but more than any treasure, we love you most of all. Yes, we do.
Thank you for making us feel right at home. You made us feel special. Now see how we've grown.
For all of the dreams that you helped to come true, all of the memories too. Thank you for being you.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Thank you, Mr. Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers.
Gracias, Mr. Rogers.
We love you.
It's such a good feeling to know you're alive. It's such a happy feeling growing inside. And when you wake up, ready to say, I think I'll make this happy new day. It's such a good feeling, a very good feeling, feeling you know that we I'll be back when the day is new. I'll have more ideas for you, and you'll have things you want to talk about. I will too. Oh, it's such a good feeling to know you're alive. It's such a happy feeling growing inside, and when you wake up, ready to say, I think I'll make a snappy new day. It's such a good feeling, a very good feeling, a good feeling, a very good feeling, a feeling you know that we Mr. Rogers would always end his program by saying some really encouraging words, and I think you could probably all use them too. That you make each day a special day by just your being you. There is no one in the whole world like you except you yourself, and people can like you exactly as you are. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Steinway, and thank you, Mr. Rogers.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of you. Drive safely because we'll drive safely because I'm walking home.
It's a perfectly beautiful day for playing, a perfectly beautiful day for saying hello. You're welcome here. It's a perfect